Okay, so this is Mr. McTavish. This is what we did starting on February 9th. We had our part studio and we had our sketch geometry of a square using construction lines. And we had sketched our top rail and we had added a circle right there and used a linear pattern in the sketch to be able to handle it. And then we extruded it and we sketched the side and oops on that side, and then we extruded that as a hole through all to make it. So we're going to create a new sketch now. Now the first thing is all of the parts that we've created are listed here. There's only one, but we can click this little eye to hide it, and you'll see some things are already grayed out. So I'm just going to make the top rail show up so that I can use it. Now I'm going to create a new sketch, and again I'm going to use the top plane for this sketch. There's a couple things here. First and foremost, you will see I've got this line, and this is the use. So use takes the letter U on the keyboard, and if I press that, what I can do is I can click that line, and now that line is part of my geometry. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the mirror tool. And with the mirror tool, if you hold your mouse over, it will tell you what to do. It tells you select a mirror line. So I'm going to use that plane as my mirror line, and I'm going to select that line. And that now gives me two lines that are perfectly mirrored. This works because I used a centered rectangle centered on the origin. If I did it a different way, I wouldn't be able to do this. So the corner rectangle is the letter G. And when you select the corner rectangle, if you hold your mouse over something and it glows orange, that means it's being constrained. So this is being constrained. So I'm going to click, I'm going to move my mouse and I'm going to click on this line so that it's nice and orange. Now, I'm going to hit the escape button on my keyboard. With the escape button, that prevents me from adding in the dimensions, and I wanted to show you different ways to do this. So one way is you just type them in as you do it. Now, I'm likely to get an error that way because it'll over constrain it, because I'll be trying to set this length, but this length is constrained by the distance from that point to that line. So if I try to set both things, then it's going to be over constrained and I'll get red. So I'm going to use the dimension tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this line and I'm going to select that line and move my mouse, click 1. So that is going to be 1 inch. There we go. I'm just going to demonstrate that over constraint so you understand it. So the corner rectangle, if I did a corner rectangle here, and I said that's 1 inch and that's 10 inches, you'll notice that's where I get my red, because what I'm trying to do is trying to set it to be this length, but I'm trying to have it to use those points as a reference. And it's saying those are two things. Right now they're the same, but what if I tried to change that? And it tries to eliminate any possibility of over constraining. So there's my rail. I'm going to click the little pencil, sketch side rail. I find it really helpful to name things as I go so I can keep track of them. So now I've got my side rail, and I'm going to extrude. Oh, let me just go back in. I just want to show you, I can, instead of clicking the green, I can go right into extrude. So knowing ways that you can quickly do new things is helpful. So I'm going to create new 1 inch. There we go. Now, you'll notice I don't have the holes this time. I want to show you a different way of creating the holes. So I'm going to select this face. So when you select a face, you can create a sketch on a planar face. And so that face, I'm going to create a sketch. And I'm going to use my center point circle. Remember, N normalizes your view. And I'm going to zoom in here so it's easy to see. Now, when I hold my mouse over here, you'll see that I get a little orange line. And when I get this orange square, that's the midpoint. So I haven't clicked at all, but you'll notice that I've got a little dotted orange line that is vertical to the midpoint. So now I'm going to click, going to create my circle, and I'm going to type 13/64. And we're just going to stick with that size because that is the perfect size for a number 10 machine screw. So there's my size. I am going to use the dimension tool. I'm going to click the dot. I'm going to click the line, and I'm going to move over here, and I'm going to type 0.5. There we go. Green check mark. I better name these things because it's always side rail top holes. Now, I have my point. I need to extrude it. So when I extrude, if I select that sketch, I can select through all and remove. And that gives me a hole all the way through. Now, there's only one hole. There's a linear pattern in here, and it's really important to learn how to use help in programs. So if I click help, um, if I type linear pattern, I can find different links, and you'll see that there's a linear pattern like that one and a sketch linear pattern. And there's a little video explaining how to do it and talks about it and stuff like that. And this is really, really useful. Okay, so, and then this is linear pattern in a sketch. Um, so, oh, that's the sketch, and this is outside of the sketch. So there's a lot of different ways to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the linear pattern, and anytime you're not sure, you just type the search linear pattern. There's the tool. And you get a bunch of options here. And the first thing is that it's red because it doesn't know what I'm patterning. So I'm going to change it from a part to a feature. So I'm going to pattern that extrude. And the direction, I'm just going to click this line and it's going to pattern it according to that line. Now I'm going the wrong direction, so I'll change direction. And my distance, 0.5. Now, the instance, so this is 10 inches, and I want them every half inch, so twice every inch, and then I'm going to subtract 1 at the end. That gives me 19, and there's my linear pattern. So the last step, I'm just going to create a sketch, and this is what we did the other day. We used a construction line to go from point to point, geometry, and then we did a center point rectangle. And whoops, I'm going to undo that. And the reason I'm going to undo it is I'm going to make sure I don't have the construction tool selected. And dimension, I want that to be 1/8 of an inch. That to be 1/8 of an inch. And through all, and it's automatically merging. And there's my part. So I now have a part. Remember, you can set your name. Now, I'm not going to set the part number. I'm going to show you a different way to do that. But remember, we always want things to have our part numbers. And then edit our appearance. We can change the color. And we can also assign the material, which I'm going to set it to be aluminum. And there we go. I'm going to make that visible again. And good to go. I'm going to break this into a series of videos. So that first one is one way to design the part, and then I'll do some more videos.